We absolutely all should have seen this coming. Georgia getting a win on the road over top-ranked Texas. Final score, Dawgs 30, Texas 15. Now, we're going to talk about this on the Georgia side of things first. Got another video for you on the On3 YouTube channel if you're listening on podcast. Got the Texas response next for you when it comes to what they did in this football game. But man, I said it a second ago, we should have seen this coming from Kirby Smart and his program. Make sure you're subscribed, Georgia fans, right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Y'all probably did see this coming. Shouts to y'all. Make sure you're dialed in here. Make sure you're subscribed. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JDPicKell. So, like I said, back against the wall spot for Kirby Smart's team. Everyone's talking about how they, don't have a chance. Everyone on game day picks against them. We pick against them on this show. Talking about how Texas is more similar to what Georgia has been in the past, especially on the line of scrimmage. And that was, I think, maybe the key talking point here. It wasn't so much that Georgia was doubted that I think really wound them up. I think they were already internally motivated to begin with. But if they needed a little extra push, a little extra nudge, it was the fact that people were talking about what they, I believe, take the most pride in when it comes to a gameplay standpoint, and that is the trenches. How often did you hear, man, Texas in the trenches, they're going to give Georgia problems. Man, Texas on the defensive line, they're going to give Georgia problems. And I promise you, Georgia, whether they would admit to it or not, I think that bothered them. And I'll say this too, they played like that bothered them, man. They took away the run game from Texas, held them to 1.1 yards a carry on the night. Yeah, that'll do it. Offensively, it wasn't this explosion in the run game, but they got more than enough on the ground to get it done. Trevor Etienne, 4.5 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. That'll do. That'll do just fine. I think the advantage in this game, and we talked about this a little bit during our preview. I was curious to see how much it would factor in, but Georgia, the advantage for them, dude, they had already lifted heavy coming into this game. They had. And what I mean by that is, like Texas, I understand the Michigan game was impressive, and it absolutely was. They throttled Oklahoma, and that's always, in some ways, a sneaky spot with it being Red River. But if you're Georgia, man, you had already played Alabama on the road in Tuscaloosa and taken a loss. And I understand now Alabama, that loss isn't aging like fine wine with the fact that they lost Tennessee yesterday. But you hear what I'm saying now. Georgia had felt the pressure of a heavy bar on their back when they had a close game on the road against Kentucky. Like I said, when they lost in Tuscaloosa, I think that matters. And I think in this spot now, when it was time to yet again step under the heavy bar, Georgia was ready. Georgia had the competitive nervous system kicked up and ready to roll, and we saw that play a major factor, I believe, in why Georgia had the success they had in this football game. And this isn't taking anything away from Texas. I think, if anything, it speaks more to Georgia and what they have within that football program and Kirby Smart getting his team ready to play. That was another talking point that I have to believe they were pretty irritated of hearing throughout the week. Georgia's got to start fast. Where's the fast start from Georgia? Doesn't look like a typical Georgia team that we've seen. They got after Quinn Ewers last night. Got after him. And it felt like defensively, I'm not in the room. I don't know exactly all the schematics of how it went down, but it felt like Glenn Schumann was a step ahead of this game defensively with how they dialed it up. And you're able to be a step ahead too when you get to the quarterback the way that Georgia did. I mean, they had 7 sacks on the night. That'll do. We've been waiting for that from Georgia. We kept saying, hey, secondary got to answer the call to action. Secondary's got to make it happen. Well, it was the defensive line that we talked about during the week that actually was able to disrupt Quinn Ewers, got after him, made it hard for him, made the picture muddy, sped up his internal shot clock, you would think, and made it the game that it was. This felt like overall like vintage Georgia football. Because we said going into the week now, like, hey, Carson Beck, man, we got to have the A-plus game. Because that's what we had seen from him throughout this year. We had seen a situation where Georgia's like, hey, Carson Beck, we're going to go as you go. We don't have Brock Bowers. We don't have Ladd McConkey. We need you to elevate this whole program and lead us forward. Carson Beck now had nowhere near the game we thought you would need from him to win this football game. I mean, my guy had 3 interceptions. Now, say what you want about that third one. It is what it is. I get it. And honestly, the second one, too, off his receiver's hands. Got to catch it. Got to help him out a little bit. But if you told me on Friday Carson Beck was going to throw 3 picks, I'd say, okay, well then Texas not just covered. They beat the brakes off Georgia. He threw 3 picks, and you still won by 2 scores. Like, isn't that just the most 2024 college football thing ever? Carson Beck doesn't have a great day at the office when it comes to the turnovers, and Georgia still handles Texas. So going back to what I said, being a vintage Georgia football team, it wasn't a quarterback-driven approach. It was line of scrimmage-driven. It was Georgia taking it too physically, what Texas was. Like, it was a Georgia, like Kirby Smart said during the post-game conversation on the field, like, we had intention. We had intention in this game. Our intent, what he was essentially saying, was to get after them, and Georgia did exactly that. So here's the thing, man. This is another reason why we should have all seen this coming. When it's time to play at the highest level of what you need throughout a college football season, when the chips are stacked and it's time for everyone to kind of round into their postseason form, Kirby Smart and his football program in mid-October playing their best ball. When everyone's doubting them, everyone's picking against them, back against the wall. We picked against them on this show, and hand up, that's on us. We'll eat that crow on Monday. Kirby Smart and his team playing their best football. So the conversation going in was, oh, man, there's a new sheriff in the SEC, and Georgia's not what they used to be, and this isn't really a Georgia team we've come to expect from Kirby Smart. And they roll out there. They're the more physical team. They're the more aggressive team. They are the more dominant team from first quarter to fourth quarter. And Kirby Smart has his football team playing their best when their best is required as we round down the stretch here. So just after we had Georgia written off and everyone's saying they're going to be a two-loss team and maybe they find their way into the playoff with an at-large bid, Georgia is right back in the conversation to not just win the SEC now, but heck, they might have a chance to, well, I guess if they win the SEC, I'll rephrase that. Georgia has a chance now not just to get in the college football playoff, but they have a, I think, more than decent chance to win the SEC and get a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. There we go. How's that? So, Georgia getting it done. That is the Georgia side of things. Again, we have the Texas side of things for you on the podcast coming up next and on the On3 YouTube channel already as a one-off video, so go check it out. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.